Shalom Aleichem. Doesn't this music just put you in a mood? Look at all those people. And the eye closes. And it is finished. The great work is finished when the eye closes. Isn't that interesting? Let's just have... Let me actually do it this way. Let me turn this up. All the way. Oops. Wrong button. Turn it down in my headphone. Yeah, there we go. Oops. Oh. Why isn't this button working? That is really dumb. Go on. Yeah, it still gets pretty loud. It's just, it just doesn't let me, it's glitching. It likes to glitch. The mouse just really, really, really likes to glitch. There we go. So, we're going to decode the Osirus myth with Hebrew language, with Hebrew scripture. New Testament is also Hebrew, by the way. It was written in Hebrew. It was copied in Greek. It was distributed in the Greek of the common people. So that they would understand it. Because that's an act of love. Not somehow an act of admitting some kind of lower intelligence. They wrote it in the people's Greek, Konia, because they wanted the people to understand it. That makes sense, doesn't it? So here is the Osirus myth. Myth is me, ma, teth. It's literally what is like a vortex. What leads to the beginning? Because a myth is usually so old it leads to the beginning. So the music's just kind of an intro. I don't think I'm going to play it the whole time. But let's start here. Oh, that's cool. You know what? I can still have it play in my ears. Yeah, I'm going to make sure it still plays in my headphones. Because I do like it, but I just don't want it to overpower the words I'm saying. Because then people won't understand me. So, window capture here. Where is it? Here we go. So the family of Osiris, the protagonists of the Osiris myth. Osiris is depicted on lapis lazuli. That's what they depict the most, a reflection of the Most High being, feet standing upon that. So writing that down in scripture is just saying that the Most High and his Mashiach have power over Osiris. That's why it's explained like that in scripture. Just in case people can't understand that. Like, oh, it says they didn't actually They saw Elohim. Do you understand? It didn't say they saw Yahovah. It said they saw Elohim, and it was like feet standing on lapis lazuli. So Osiris is a false view, a false perception of Messiah. And you'll see this as it goes on. And so that's why Osiris would be Antichrist then. He's on but it's on a pillar, see? Not something stable. Pillar only appears to be stable because it's flattened at the top. So it says flanked by Horus on the left. Remember that's Solomon. Or it's the Koheleth. On the left, so it should be on the right. See how it's inverted? And Isis, or Ishi, the woman, on the right, in this 22nd dynasty statuette. She has a 22nd dynasty too. It's not even the originals. So that's why they have it flipped. They have the right and the left flipped. Horus should be on the right and Isis should be on the left because it's Solomon and the world. It's the man and the woman. The woman has to do with peoples and governments. The man has to do with direction and command. You can't make this up. The Hebrew reveals the entire mythology of every nation. The Osiris myth is the most elaborate and influential story in the ancient Egyptian mythology. It concerns the murder of the idol Osiris, a primeval king of Egypt. Probably was a primeval king of Egypt. He might have been Nimrod. Marauding band. And its consequences. Osiris's murder, his brother Set. You understand? Who's Messiah's brother? The church. It's evil in this setting, and it is an opposer. You see how they've always viewed the church that way? But then it's like, oh, they never move. It could be a negative thing in many ways, but it's also like a never faltering. Do you see how I'm revealing the entire psychology of ancient Egyptian religion using Hebrew? That's why the Kabbalists might know most of this stuff. But you don't know how much or how little they know because most things they don't understand because they have wicked means. So I could be telling this straight to them and they won't understand because their hearts are wicked. Do you understand? So I can say this to whoever I want. And I'm not guilty. I'm not part guilty in anybody's crime. That's what true sovereignty is. It's given by God. It's not self-sovereignty. It's given to you. Osiris' murder, his brother Set usurps his throne. Usurpers, that's the Catholic, Orthodox, Coptic. They're all usurpers. Usurps his throne. Meanwhile, Osiris' wife, Isis, remember the church, restores her husband's body. This is strange, isn't it? I know the pieces fit because I watched them fall away. Smoldered, mildew, smoldering, fundamental differing. I'm quoting songs by people who are of a certain genealogy that I'm also in. I've explained this. Watch the Pan Am episode. It's actually Pan Am. I thought it was Pan Am. It's Pan Am. So it's Panem. So instead of the last part meaning man, it actually means like a maidservant. It's the all maidservant. It's the Queen of Heaven worship. Do you understand? That's what Magog means. It's the agent of Gog. Gog is the Antichrist, and Magog is his multitude. Let him who hath understanding calculate the multitude. For it is a multitude of Adamah. and their number is 6 score, 3 score and 6 or something like that. They're Sixers, basically. There's 3 kinds of them. There's Catholic, Orthodox, and Coptic. Sixer, Sixer, Sixer. Do you understand? It's Star Rem fan. It is Nehushtan. It is Taphanes, the mouth of the serpent, the brazen serpent. It's brazen. It's been hardened. It's not gold, but it's shiny, and you can see a good reflection in it, but it makes your reflection not the same color or contrast that you actually are. Meanwhile, while Cyrus's wife Isis, the church, restores her husband's body, allowing him to posthumously conceive their son, Horus. That's wisdom literature created by Maecenas, true Maecenas, mixed in with the iron of the false Maecenas, the false church. The remainder of the story focuses on Horus. See, the other guy, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, the other guy is done away with. Remember, Set, it's all flipped around. So Set's actually the real church, the real brothers. He doesn't have to go anywhere. God doesn't have to move or do anything. There's no shadow due to turning. If you ever heard the Great is Thy Faithfulness song, it's from Scripture, and it means there is no shadow of turning with thee. All I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto thee. It's a beautiful song. Summer and winter, springtime and harvest, sun, moon, and stars in their courses above, join with all nature in manifold witness to thy great faithfulness, Lord, unto thee. It's a very good song. Great is thy faithfulness, O Elohim, our Patar. There is no shadow of turning. There is no motion of the shadow. Do you understand? There is the light and there is the shadow. The shadow doesn't move. That's the true Set. That's actually evil because remember, theirs is inverted. That's where you get the Teth. Is this causing a Teth in your mind? It should, because that's the purpose that they create this stuff for. The remainder of the story focuses on Horus, the product of the union of Isis and Osiris. So this is the real church, even though it's inverted here. They see their... Remember, Satan thinks he is given everything. He doesn't even have anything to give Messiah. He just thinks he has it. The main of the story focuses on who at first is a vulnerable child protected by his mother, government, and then becomes Set's rival for the throne. Their often violent conflict ends with Horus's triumph, which restores Ma'at, cosmic and social order. Interesting that Ma'at to them is death. I mean, is the cosmic order, but it's actually death. Isn't that interesting that I had real cosmology and then now it's Shemiramoth? Can't make this up. They know that the universe hangs on Ma'at, the destruction. And the only thing in the breach is the fifth dimension, which is Messiah. Do you understand that string theory? That is the cosmic and social order. So their violent conflict, their Ragnarok. Why do you think the Nordics believe the same thing the Egyptians do? Because Pharaoh's children went up there. Their often violent conflict ends with Horus's triumph, which restores death. See how, remember, Set is actually true, but the good in here is supposed to be applied to the church. So try to unravel this Teth here, where their conflict ends with Horus's triumph, their version of Horus, which is the the phoenix that rises up out of the ashes. And they say with which restores death to its power. Who took the power of death? Messiah. Do you understand? So Set, when you take away the inversion, it actually stands still and sees the salvation of Yehovah, which restores life. It's wild. This language explains everything. Because in the word, Dabar, Yehovah, which is Mashiach, because the testimony, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Yeshua. Spirit of, I think it's like Neshai. I still didn't look that up. Because I'm pretty sure I'm right anyway. And I think it's like Nesai, like it means like a banner. Mashiach, we're supposed to be clothed with the sun. The sun is our banner. Who's the sun? Can't make this up. So, they claim all the order is going to be restored when their Horus goes in there. I literally labeled Trump as the Rosh of Horus in a picture. And I'm going to post it on the Telegram because it kind of goes against TOS. So I'll put it on. I can't put it on stream etymology links. That's kind of. Well, the Ottoman Empire and the Holy Roman Emperor list isn't technically etymology. So I'm going to put it on the stream etymology links in the Telegram. Telegram is links in the bio. And it's a picture of Trump as literally the Rosh of their Horus. Remember, not the actual Horus. Because Khoresh, can't make this stuff up, homie. We're entering it. Get ready. Put your big boy pants on. Geared your loins like a man. For Yehovah will speak. And if you can, make a sound with that throat. Try to answer him. Try it. I dare you. I duel you. I duel you. Challenge you to a duel. See how it's all making sense? I'm gonna find this thing. Instagram memes, probably. I just want to be able to post it so I don't forget. Because that bothers me a lot when I forget. Come on, where is it? It might be in Telegram, too. And this is good to do this. This isn't wasting time because this is a lot of information, even for me to take in. So, it's nice to have a break. You know what I can do? I could put the music on again. There we go. There's some music in the background. Unless the visuals are fooling me and you can't hear hardly anything. Let's see here. This would be YouTube Vault, Telegram Live. Here we go. I think I'm gonna find it right now. It's pretty crazy. It's literally the Rosh of their version of Khoresh. Horus. Khoresh. Khoresh is KH. So remember, it's just the cop of Horus. What was Cyrus? He was the cop of Horus, the true Horus. You understand? Can't make this up. It's wild. I can't even give myself a break. I'm looking for something, and I just subconsciously, or I would say it's Messiah, just more stuff comes out. Where is that picture? That's so odd that I can't find it. Oh, here it is. Oh, I love this picture. It's so funny. So if you go to the Telegram page, oops, never mind. Let me delete that. I gotta edit it. I have an old watermark on it. Sorry, people. You'll have to get it later. I'll have to remember. Um. Oh, I need to read that. I need to read all this. So I had some revelations earlier. Nobody in the chat. Okay. I figured out that Job, if you read Job, Job is actually. Well, let me turn the music off. If you read Job, Job is the good American, just like the good Samaritan. Think about it. So Job lived in Uz. I always get it confused, and I think he lived in Ur, the Chaldeans, just like Abraham. So I'm like, oh, Job is what would have happened to Abraham if he didn't leave, or if he didn't go far enough away from the Chaldeans. Because remember, when Shem died 35 years after Abraham did. So if they never had left, if they would have stayed in Uz, what happened to Job would have happened to them. But they wouldn't have had their knowledge spread because everything Job had was destroyed. See what I mean? But everything Abraham had wasn't destroyed. He actually got more. So Uz is like near the Chaldeans, but just far enough where they can be their Ush. Uz, listen, Uz might very well be the Ukraine. Do you understand? I spoke to the first person I got to speak to in Ukraine who gave me almost all the knowledge I'll ever need. I'll still want to speak to more people, but that man gave me the more knowledge than I'll ever need on Ukraine because he's there. It's his reality. That's the most raw truth you can get. Imagine if people in America were able to FaceTime somebody in Nazi Germany or in Imperial Japan during World War II. World War II wouldn't have happened. Do you understand? Why are the former times better than these? It is not out of wisdom that you ask this, says Solomon, says the real Horus. Well, it's actually above Set and Horus. Because Khoresh is Horus, the cop of Horus. But you could still say Solomon is Khoresh, and then Khoresh means the cop of Solomon. Because Solomon created the Silk Road. And Khoresh was the cop who reinforced it. Oh, look at that. It's all just falling into place. So Uz is Ush. It's the working force. Oh, gee. Ukraine is the breadbasket of the world. There's a lot of money there. So Uz is unions and sanctions. It's constraints. It's using the Musha, but it's putting pharaonic constraints on it. Unions and sanctions and executive orders and stuff like that. That's Uz. You get Job. You get America. You get what's coming to America pretty soon if you do that. Abraham was the opposite. He had to move away from it so that he can have free trade and free info exchange. It's not just free trade. Canaan just means synchronicity of trade. Do you understand? Uz is anarcho-capitalism. It's the working force of Americana. It's the good American, but see, he needs to understand something because he's Moses living in Pharaoh's house. He hasn't turned 40 yet. He hasn't seen the UN peacekeepers, Pharaoh's servants. He hasn't seen them beating one of his brothers to death. You understand they're doing that in Gaza right now? And no Moses is standing up. You're about to see the results of that when it's done. How do you get rid of Moses? Well, you have to test him with what Moses was tested with. The taskmaster beating one of his brothers to death. If the Moses just passes by the burning bush, do you see it yet? If Moshe just passes by the burning bush, then the bush burns for real. It burns him. It burns his tree, his root. That's what Joel begged the Most High not to do. He said, I saw it. I saw the fire that consumes the growth and consumes the water underneath and consumes the nutrients underneath. It's literally Yosemite. It's literally a supervolcano. Behold, I saw Yahweh forming a supervolcano underneath Israel. And I pleaded, oh, Yahweh, Jacob, he is so small. How can he survive? And they say, Yahweh lamented, I shall not do this. Or I do not do this. Remember, there's no shall not. I do not do this. Remember, he already knew he wasn't going to do it. He's just doing the pattern with, because he has to make this guy perceive. Because God, the Most High, doesn't need perception, but we do. So then he saw the locusts, scorched earth tactics. And that's what was forming. And he goes, oh, Yahweh, please. Jacob is so small. How can he survive something like that? And it said, Yahweh said, I also do not do this. And then it said he stood there, which is the word of Yahweh stood there. It was Messiah. He had a measuring rod in his hand. So now something manifested out of that Shaul. It was David. Just like Abraham did the same thing with Sodom and Gomorrah. Maybe they're just misunderstood, or maybe they're just programmed. It's like, no, we showed them the glory of angels and they wanted to do unimaginable things. Every single one. So no. But it's a good thing you did that. That's a musha. You musha with the Most High enough, you become an Israel. Israel. A man who breaks in pieces like Elohim. Do you understand yet? And they're the Shemitic, they're the speakers, they're the branders, they're the namers. And some of them want to pretend to my face, these citizens of so-called Israel, it's Soviet Israel, these citizens want to act like they don't know what a Semite is. I tell them Ishmael is a Semite. And they're like, no, his mother was Hagar. It's like, so his father was Abraham. We're the seed of Abraham. Remember that? We're not the seed of Sarah or any of these people. We're the seed of Abraham. Ishmael is your brother. See, this guy, because of the rabbis, the Rabsaris, because of the Rabmeg, because of the Rabshakeh, they put over Jerusalem. They don't realize that Ishmael is their brother. Just like Abel, even though Cain and Abel, just like Cain, it's like the only brother he had at the time, and he didn't even realize he was his brother. When the word of Yehovah, when Dabar Yehovah asked or or technically commanded, because he's not asking a question, he's just saying, "Where is your brother? Do you understand?" And then he goes, "Am I my brother's keeper?" It's like, yes, you are. Do you understand that Cain became the cop? His skull, because of his psychology, didn't fully form. He turned Hamite. That's where Hamite comes from. The skull, not the genes. The skull, and you all have the same skull when you're a baby. Unless something tries to mess with it beforehand, then you can have different deformations and stuff. Or they've inbred things to a point where the skull. Do you understand why you're not supposed to inbreed? It's all about this stuff. I can't even say it all because it's too much. So let me just continue with this 32-minute mark. Here we go. Shriners, 32nd degree. The myth writes its complex symbolism. It's integral to ancient Egypt conceptions of kingship and succession. Oh, gee, that explains a lot, doesn't it? Conflict between order and disorder, and especially death and the afterlife. It also expresses the essential character of each of the four deities at its center. Remember the four? Not the fifth element. There's only four. The obelisk stands on four. Four corners of the earth. It also expresses the essential character of each four deities at the center, which many elements of their worship in ancient Egypt religion were derived from the myth. See, it's something giving information that hasn't manifested yet. So it's confusing. They're like, what does this mean? You understand? It's probably like a bunch of prophecy before the flood. That didn't make sense because it hadn't amalgamated yet. Paul talks about this. The Osiris myth reached its basic form in or before the 24th century BCE. That's, remember, with these, if you actually look into it, depending on the scholar, there can be 500 to even 1,000 years difference between when they date things. So don't take their dates very seriously. So many of its elements originated in religious ideas, but the struggle between Horus and Set may have been partly inspired by a regional conflict in pre-dynastic or early dynastic times. I'll tell you what it is. Set is the ideology that you don't necessarily have to travel to know everything, but knowing that travel is good. See how they cut the good into two. Horus is the Eber. Set is the Shem. They cut him in two. Angels on the sidelines, puzzled and confused. Why did Father give these humans free will? Now they're all confused. Monkey killing monkey over pieces of the ground. Silly monkeys, where there's one, they forge a blade in. Oh, silly monkeys give them thumbs, give them the ability to fashion. They forge a blade, and where there's one, they're bound to divide it right in two. So they took Abraham, divided it into two. Eber, Shem. Shem is Set. He doesn't have to leave his mountain. He speaks and brands from his mountain. Eber travels. But it creates too much myth because one man can't possibly do that much. You mix them both together, you get Ebersham. Shemiramoth means to name or mark the death of the city. And city, remember, is terror. So it's the end of terror. Stripping it away, the end of stripping away. The end of the wall, the end of the veil. Can't make this up. It's wild. So Scholars have tried to discern the exact nature of the events that gave rise to the story, but they have reached no definitive conclusion. Yes, Tethla. You understand? Tethla. Didn't I just say that right now? Oh, my Teth. Myth. Ta. Egypt. Ayin. Ptah. It's the testimony in the mouth of the mark. It's not the building, it's the foundation. All right. They worship the is, but they don't acknowledge the do, the one who does. They don't think there's a mediator. There has to be. You didn't be incinerated if there wasn't a mediator. Parts of the myth appear in a wide variety of Egyptian texts, from funerary texts, magical spells, short stories. Therefore, more details and more cohesive than other ancient Egyptian myth. Yet no Egyptian source gives a full account of the myth, and the sources vary widely in their versions of the events. Greek and Roman writings, particularly on Isis and Osiris by Plutarch, provide more information but may not always accurately reflect Egyptian beliefs. Through these writings, the Osiris myth persisted. The word of Elohim doesn't have to persist; it just is. Anything that touches it gets cut. It doesn't have to do anything. You can't do anything against truth, only for it. You can only strengthen the sword and make it sharper. You can't dull it, though. The Osiris myth persisted after knowledge of most ancient Egyptian beliefs was lost, and it's still well known today. Of course, because it resurrected with the actual amalgamation of it. It jumped the gun. Mother Superior jumped the gun. You understand? Sources. You can read all this stuff yourself. Let's see things that matter here. Pyramid text. All right. Major events of the story, such as the death and resurrection of Osiris and strife between Horus and Set, appear in the utterances of the pyramid text. Wait a minute. Let me read over here. These texts made up desperate spells or utterances. That's literally what prophecy means, just uttering things that you can't. It means you can't keep your mouth shut. Contain ideas that are presumed to date from still earlier times. The texts are concerned with the afterlife of the king buried in the pyramid. See, it's all about their testimony, their reputation, their name. It's not about that. I'm a worm and not a man. It's all about Dabar Hava. You don't live off of lechem, bread, or life alone. Every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yahavah, and it's always proceeding. He's always doing something. All right, so he's both. He is still yet moving. He is the is, yet is moving. He's infinitely expanded already, and we can't comprehend that. And he's also infinitely expanding while already being infinitely expanded. See, we can't comprehend that. I can't comprehend that. I can only say it. So they frequently refer to the Osiris myth, which is deeply involved with the kingship and the afterlife. See, this is the red, not the purple. Red and blue make purple. Do you understand? Major events of the story, you can't make that up because it's just how it happens. Major elements of the story, such as the death and restoration of Osiris and the strife between Horus and Set, appear in the utterances of the pyramid texts. Funerary texts written in latter times, such as the coffin text from the Middle Kingdom, that's 2055 BC, that's the time of Abraham, to 1650 BC, that's 200 years before the Exodus. In the Book of the Dead from the New Kingdom, 1550 BCE, that's right before the Exodus, that's 100 years before the Exodus, and 1070, that's about the time of Solomon, also contains elements of the myth. Isn't that interesting? Listen to those dates. The time of Abraham to the time of the enslavement of Abraham is this Middle Kingdom. That's the dates they're giving. And then the Book of the Dead, from 100 years before the Exodus to Solomon, when the temple was built. You can't, or this is probably more like Saul David. You can't make this stuff up. It's insane. You can't corrupt it. Other types of religious texts give evidence for the myth, such as two Middle Kingdom texts, the dramatic Messium papyrus and the Yekhoresh stela. So it's just the male and female. It's the Baphomet. The papyrus describes the coronation of Senusret I, and that was, oh no, I don't think that's the same one. Never mind. Which was both festivals, 18th dynasty. Remember Memphis is Egyptian, and we have that in America for some reason. Another important source is the Memphite theology, a religious narrative that includes an account of Osirus' death as well as the resolution of the dispute between Horus and Set. See how there's a lot of confusion because it hasn't amalgamated yet? It's a teth until something comes and gives clarity. That's why the Old and the New Testament, it's really teth ta ma ta. It's the vortex of a mark that's like another mark. And then the New Testament is the new vortex that's a mark like another mark. Doesn't make sense unless you put the two together, thus ceasing the hostility. Oh gee, thus ceasing the hostility. Type that into your Bible app. And you'll see what it says. This narrative associates the kingship that Osiris and Horus represent with Ta, the mark, the creator deity of Memphis, Tennessee. Ta, Nasha, the mark that uplifts and expands, the mark of the brazen serpent. Anyway, the text was long. Tennessee is long too. Tennessee's a long state. Anyway, the text was long enough to date back to the Old Kingdom and was treated as a source for information about the early stage of development. Since the 70s, however, people think they know everything. Rituals in honor of Osiris are another major source of information. Blah, 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 from the Roman era. Isn't it interesting that a lot of the rituals are revived in the Roman era? I wonder why, because they're the children of them. Some of these late ritual texts, blah, 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 magic healing spells, come on. I want something juicy here. Oh, 44-minute mark, 44 death's door. Here we go. Synopsis. At the start of the story, Osiris rules Egypt, having inherited the kingdom from his ancestors. You can hear the cicadas. That's interesting. At the start of the story, Osiris rules Egypt, having inherited the kingship from his ancestors in lineage stretching back to the creator of the world, Ra or Atum. This is what Trump and his family believe kabbalistically. Do you understand? The start of the story, Osiris rules Egypt. He probably thinks he existed in the beginning. Look at what a lot of these Mormon professors say. They say these things because they're Egyptian. Joseph Smith says he's reading a revised Egyptian with secret stones that you can't see. Having inherited the kingship from his ancestors in a lineage stretching back to the creator of the world, Ra or Atum, Adam. The evil of Adam, though. What's the evil of Adam? It's Cain. His queen is Isis, who, along with Osiris and his murderer Set, is one of the children of the earth. It's interesting that that Set's murderer, or Osiris' murderer, is the Set person, and see how the church at the time became the Pharisees, and that's what killed Osiris. Do you understand how it makes sense when time is able to pass People are patient and receive things when they're supposed to. His queen is Isis, who, along with Osiris, his murderer Set, is one of the children of the earth god Jeb, literally Jeb Bush, the sky goddess Nutella. Little information about the reign of Osiris appears in Egyptian sources. The focus is on his death and the events that follow. Osiris is connected with life-giving power. Oh, gee, Messiah say he's given power by Elohim to be life-giving spirit. Righteous kingship and the rule of Me'at, so he rules death. The ideal natural order whose maintenance was fundamental goal in ancient Egyptian culture. So they're trying to become him. That's anti-Mashiach. Mashiach is already chosen to be him from the beginning. Set is closely associated with violence and chaos. Because remember, he doesn't bring peace, he brings a sword. Because when you tell the truth, it brings violence and chaos. And you just stand still and see the salvation. Do you understand? Therefore, the slaying of Osiris symbolizes the struggle between order and disorder and the disruption of life by death. Notice the disruption of death by life. Do you understand? Death gets swallowed up by life. Some versions of the myth provide Set's motives for killing Osiris. According to a spell in the pyramid text, Set is taking revenge for a kick Osiris gave him. Remember, do not be displeased at the discipline of Yehovah, for he does it to those he loves and chooses. Do you understand? Whereas in the late period text, Set's grievance is that Osiris had intercourse with Nephthys, who is Set's consort. See, only the Most High and only Messiah actually does the creating. The Most High does the creating. Messiah does the real naming, the real branding. So you see psychologically what's being presented here? The murder itself is frequently alluded to, but never clearly described. This gets where it gets interesting. The Egyptians believed that written words had the power to affect reality. Oh, that's what all these truthers tell you. But they don't give you the whole truth. That the spirit is first and then the physical. So there was even a word that existed before you, it's called Messiah. So they avoided writing directly about profoundly negative events such as Osiris' death. See, they made this belief that words affect reality. They corrupted it in a way so that they didn't ever expose the truth that was negative, the negative truth. See, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. No, you're gonna be evil. Do you understand? Because you're ignoring the evil. You're not exposing it. They just talk about the shape of the earth instead of actually exposing evil, which is what's happening right now because I'm telling you what scripture says. It's not me. Sometimes they denied his death altogether. That's interesting. Osiris they don't even trust. You see, it's all distrust and disbelief. They just denied his death altogether. Even though the bulk of the traditions about him make it clear that he has been murdered. Very, very interesting. In some cases, the text suggests that Set takes the form of a wild animal, such as a crocodile or a bull, to slay Osiris. You understand? They become an animal, like unreasoning animals. Look up in your Bible app, unreasoning animals, and see what you find. In others, they imply that Osiris' corpse is thrown into the water or that he is drowned. This later tradition is the origin of Egyptian belief that people who had drowned in the Nile were sacred. Do you understand? There's all kinds of mythology that comes out of that if you just read history and pay attention. Even the identity of the victim can vary, as it is sometimes the god Yekhoresh. So Hara Rosh. It's literally the poison, the fever-inducing poison of the city's Rosh, or the city's man. an elder form of Horus who is murdered by Set and then avenged by another form of Horus who is this person's son by Isis. This is all just weird. By the end of the New Kingdom, a tradition had developed that Set had cut Osiris's body into pieces and scattered them across Egypt. That's Kabbalah. Cut, that's literally the 12, that's the Kabbalah tree, by the way. Cult centers of Osiris all over the country claim that the corpse or particular pieces of it were found near them. This is Jackie Chan Adventures with the Talismans. And the dragon, it's all to give the dragon power. Do you understand? The dismembered parts could be said to number as many as 42. Remember when the concubine was treated the way she was? And the sign was she was separated? It caused all the mushas to come together to solve the problem, to cut out the cancer. The dismembered parts could be said to number as many as 42, each piece being equated with one of the 42 nomes or provinces in Egypt. So 45 is Trump, 44 is Obama, Destor, 43 is Clinton, 42. Oh wait, 43 is Bush, and 42 is Clinton. So Clinton represents the 42 provinces of Egypt. And isn't it weird how I used his voice to say the ghost of Belstar, she hands down her wits to Jezebel the nun who violently knits a bald wig for Jack the Ripper who sits at the head of the Chamber of Commerce. It's not a coincidence. I don't control what I say most of the time. Sometimes I forget what I say and I have to ask people, what did I just say? It's not, oh, see, look, he has mental problems. It's like, no, when you hear me speak about things that I know more, that I've had more experience with, it's a process. And then that's what they do. They just mock. Oh, they're just filled with new wine. Okay. Because you're half right. Osiris's death is followed either by an interregnum or by a period by which Set assumes the kingship. Do you understand? There's the millennial reign, and then there is the short reign of Antichrist. Meanwhile, Isis searches for her husband's body with the aid of Nephthys. So it's Isis. When searching for morning Osiris, the two goddesses are often likened to falcons or kites. So they're given wings like an eagle. Possibly because kites travel far in search of carrion, because the Egyptians associated their plaintive calls with cries of grief, or because of the goddess's connection with Horus, who is often represented as a falcon. Iowa, their state bird is the falcon. Ayahuasca. Eyes to see, ears to hear. In the New Kingdom, when Osiris's death and renewal came to be associated with the annual flooding of the Nile that fertilized Egypt, the waters of the Nile were equated with Isis's tears of mourning. Behold Rachel weeping. You understand? He gives the amalgamation to mystery. And now it's no longer mystery. It's no longer a teth. Ta, mata. Teth, ta, mat, ta. Sorry. Vortex like a testament of death, because if you separate them, you're like under a vortex of testament and death. You're still under condemnation. You have to amalgamate them both. Do you understand? They just leave out the truth while they're watching you die. Saving souls by taking your money, flies around shit, bees around honey. It's a Holy Smoke song. This is all amalgamating. You're watching it. I'm experiencing it with you because this is all amalgam. I can't control this. I just do it. I can't even plan these things. It's hard to plan them. I can't plan them. They just happen. So they find, the goddesses find and restore Cyrus's body, often with the help of other deities, including Thoth, that's mind, deity created with the great magical and healing powers. Yeah, because remember, death and power, or life of the tongue. Death and life and the power of the tongue. And Anubis, the god of embalming and funerary rites. Remember the myrrh. And Osiris becomes the first mummy. What a mummy's wrapped in. Do you understand? And the god's efforts to restore his body are the mythological basis for Egyptian embalming practices, which sought to prevent and reverse the decay that follows death. This part of the story is often extended with episodes in which Set and his followers try to damage the corpse, and Isis and her allies must protect it. That's happening to their Antichrist right now. And literally a thing called Isis and its allies are helping it. Do you understand? Isis conceives his... Okay, once Osiris is made whole, Isis conceives his son and rightful heir, Horus. One ambiguous spell in the coffin text may indicate that Isis is impregnated by a flash of lightning. While in other sources, Isis is still in bird form, dove, fans breath and life into Osiris's body. Wow. Wow. Fifth dimensional. Musa. With her wings and, does the thing with them. Osiris's rival is apparently not permanent, and after this point in the story, he is only mentioned as the ruler of the Duat, the distant and mysterious realm of the dead. Duloc is the perfect place. Doors are shut. Cannot enter the feast. Duat. It's the realm of the dead. Although he lives only in the Duat, he and the kingship he stands for will, in a sense, be reborn in his son. Son of perdition, son of destruction, son of death. You understand? I'm the son who hears I Shemiramoth. I'm not consumed by it. I consume it. The life consumes death. They're not equal to each other. Life consumes death. Murphy was wrong. Whoever the guy was who said the equal opposite. But Murphy's wrong too. Which deals mainly with the portion of the myth, differs in respect from blah, 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 blah. You can read all this yourself. I wouldn't suggest it, though, because I don't think anything else really matters. Okay, so I'm going to play this whole video as the outro with this as intro music. So let me turn this up a bit. There we go. Here we go. Here we go. I gotta turn it down a little bit. You know why I'm gonna turn it down a little bit? Because I just psyched you guys. I'm not going to play this music at the end. You know what I'm going to play.
It has begun. Zero. Scorpion. Reptile. Smoke. Cyrax. Sector. Mutaro. Shao Kahn. Finish it. Excellent. Choose your destiny. Flawless victory. Choose your destiny. Flawless victory. Feel the power of Shao Kahn. Fight. Finisher. Excellent. Outstanding. Finish it. It's official. You suck.
Wait a minute, are you knocking this country? Are you saying something against America?
Against it? I should be positively astounded to hear of anything that be said for it. Why, the whole bloody place is the most unspeakable matriarchy in the whole history of civilization. Look at yourself and the way your wife and her strumpet of a mother push you through the hoop.
Yo, I'm a businessman. Straight to the business. Nah, I ain't gonna miss this. Cause you lot taking the biscuit. So stay on the fringes, pray for the win. You fakers are making me cringe. I should've stayed in the basement. You got no place to skate on the pavement. Your head's vacant, complacent. Too green, no beef, no bacon. Complaining, we're all savages. No shit, Sherlock, can't handle this. Can't prepared, I don't mean sandwiches. Sack of shit, come with a bag of bandages. I'm unstable, bring reinforcements. Cut the cake, give me the big portion. Of course, it's just rawness. Grassroots, no big endorsements. So I'm chalking. One up to Ollie, tits in a trolley. Balls in a biscuit tin. Ain't no fool with a bling, I'm cool with a ting. Who's that? I'm a roof rag. Should I shoot back or blast and boom back? Cute rappers, you better off to move back. True that, mate, don't do that. And I'm getting too fat, but you know where the food at. Brat, gunshot in the air like you don't care about wasting rounds. Why's your face in a frown? I ain't targeting no one, I'm just making the rounds. Making the most of it while you're posting links to bogus shit. My frozen fingertips are still picking bricks up and laying them in those conditions.
Excuse me, sir. What is your name? And what do you do?